Sup you beautiful people. Hope you've had a fantastic day. Welcome back to another new episode of What If Deku Becomes a Pokemon Trainer. In this story, it is simply what you might expect. The story of My Hero Academia, but in world filled with not only quirks, but also Pokemon. If you guys enjoy this what if, comment down below and let me know. And go ahead and check out other what ifs in the channel, after watching this video. Before we get into it though, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like, and also share this video with your friends. So let's start this video. Third POV. Combusken and Darmanitan are both unable to battle. Taishi announced. This round in match is a draw. Class 1 has stood there stunned at the surprising end to such a climatic battle, before snapping out of their shock to give the two trainers heroes in training some applause and cheers. Izuku's friends were saddened at their friend's defeat, but cheered Izuku for such an amazing, well-fought match and his impressive strategies. Meanwhile, the rest of the class felt the end of the match was rather anticlimactic, but clapped in respect of the two trainers. Bakugo, however, was rather gritting his teeth at the confidence that Izuku was showing, and the respect that he was getting in turn. This isn't supposed to be how it goes. Bakugo thought vehemently. Shitty Deku's not supposed to be this confident. He's just a worthless, cowardly, sniveling caterpie. And these extras are supposed to treat him like the bug he is. Why lies should be praised. That's how it always was. Izuku brought out Combusken's Pokeball, and returned the young foul Pokemon to his bowl. That was an amazing fight, Combusken. Izuku said to the returned Pokemon. I'm so proud. But, we didn't win. Combusken weakly groaned through the Pokeball and in his mind. But you still managed to go up against and knock out Darmanitan in the end, too. Izuku countered. Our loss just means that we still have some more training to do. Combusken was silent for a moment, before replying thanks Izuku. The thanks is for you and you alone, Combusken. Izuku replied. Now rest up. Izuku looked over to Todoroki who returned the fainted Darmanitan to his Pokeball. The green-haired teen looked as the white and red-haired one stared at his Pokeball before perking up and looking to his right side all of a sudden, before growling something Izuku couldn't hear. Izuku and Todoroki met with the rest of the group, along with Taishi as he walked towards them. What an amazing fight, to the two of you, Midoriya, Todoroki. Taishi said. Not to sound biased, but I believe that was the best matchup we've had today. I agree with the teach. Kirishima said. All three of those fights were so manly. Especially the last one with that classic street fight vibe I felt. I liked more the Pikachu fight with Ninetales. Kaminari said. Using an attacking move as a shield. That was so awesome. Kaminari immediately hounded Izuku and grabbed him by the shoulder. You have to teach me and Sparky that technique, Midoriya. Please please please. Sure. Izuku struggled to say as Kaminari repeatedly shook him. That move, now that I remember, was rather similar to Uraraka's orbit shield move during our battle training exercise. Ida noted. However, instead of utilizing a move in Uraraka's zero gravity, it instead was just a one move and Pikachu spinning like a top. Ah yes, speaking of that technique, do please enlighten us Midoriya in what you called that technique that you had Pikachu use? Taishi asked. Izuku shivered in slight nervousness at the attention of the whole class, including the hateful glare Bakugo and the stone-cold one of Todoroki. It's called the counter shield technique. Izuku answered. I learned it from a mentor of mine before you. The technique uses a Pokemon's move, usually one that is attacking based or status affecting, and instead of firing it at the opponent, they instead spin and harness that attack as a protective shield. The class gaped at the technique, Taishi smirking with a mad glare sorts. Serena's hand rested on her chin in thought. A mentor of his. Could this be the same mentor that Izuku mentioned trained him before? Momo was the first to snap out of her shock to ask so. This counter shield technique of yours can be used by other Pokemon and other moves, aside from Thunderbolt. Yeah. Izuku replied. The mentor I mentioned first showed me that by having his Hulucha use a feather dance move as a shield against Pikachu's Thunderbolt. So that's why you called you to Pikachu about a Hulucha. Higakure exclaimed. Yeah, I didn't want to suddenly just to reveal my strategy out loud for Todoroki to know. Izuku said, rubbing his neck embarrassed. Damn, now that I think about it, I almost blew it again and almost revealed that All Might mentored me before you. A smart decision. Taishi said. The most experienced of trainers often will make code words to hide their actual intent in battle, a sign of trust and training between partner and Pokemon. The most trusting of Pokemon can even understand commands through simple gazes and gestures from his trainer. Izuku nodded at that, remembering past videos of All Might merely glancing at his Pokemon before they both attacked, although, given now that Izuku knew about All Might's telepathic link with his Pokemon, it was now difficult to think which one was a simple wordless gaze or mental messaging. Now in conclusion, both of you students showed exceptional strategies and trusting bonds between you and your Pokemon. Taishi continued. From Midoriya's strategies from his Eevee and Pikachu to Todoroki's impressive long-range strategy with Ninetales and defensive tactics from his Darmanitan. Well done once more. Izuku looked to Todoroki and prepared to hold out a hand to shake with the teen, only for Todoroki to simply walk back to the group, wordlessly. Izuku frowned at Todoroki's cold behavior but just shrugged, assuming he was just angry at the disappointing outcome. Izuku took that action to walk back to his friends. Now, it's time for one more battle for today, Taishi said. Our final matchup between Serena Mariella and Katsuki Bakugo. Serena stared at the explosive teen who stared back, the Hydro Quirk user frowning silently, while Bakugo just bared his teeth in a snarl. As Taishi walked back to his area, and Cementus fixed the wrecked field from the previous match, Serena felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned to find it was Izuku's, who gave her a smile. Good luck, Serena, Izuku said. I'm sure you will win it. Thanks, Izu. Serena smiled back, a tiny blush on her cheeks. I'll definitely win this and knock that bastard down a peg. Izuku's smile turned to a panicked face, his head whirling to see if the others heard her, before leading her but away from the rest of the group. Please, Serena, don't make this into some kind of grudge, Izuku whispered to his closest friend. He's not worth getting so worked up over. I've moved on from it. Are you sure about Izu? Serena questioned, Izuku's eyes widening in response. I saw how angry you were in your fight against Bakugo yesterday, and I know that you still hold some resentment for what he did to you. Izuku's eyes blinked, frowning in confused thought. I don't know. Maybe, Izuku replied. But even so, it's still my business with Bakugo. You don't have to get involved in it, Serena. Serena was silent, her eyes shadowed by her hair. I'm sorry, Izu, but I have to disagree, Serena said, turning back to Izuku. When you told me about what he did to you, all those years that he tormented you, I was so angry, I wanted to find and rip the bastard apart. But I respected your wish to not go after him, and I respected your wishes and trust all the more by not ratting the bully out, but he made it my business when he nearly killed you yesterday. When he almost took my closest friend away from me. Izuku stared in shock as he saw the tear that fell down her cheek, a wave of guilt washing over him, at just how much pain and fear she must have suffered through that. I always admired your kindness and compassion, Izu, Serena said, wiping away the tear. I still do, even after what he did yesterday, and I wish to be like you, but I'm not. Serena stared at Deku determined. Just like you can't help but save others, I can't help but want to make him pay, in some way. I won't expose him, at least not now, but I will not allow for him to walk away scot-free. So, for now, just let me go face him and teach him a lesson. Alright. Izuku stared down in silence, his mind in turmoil over what to say. Eventually, Izuku sighed and looked to Serena. Alright, Izuku said. I'm not too crazy about this, and I still don't think that what he did is worth getting so hung up over, but I won't stop you. Just go easy on him a bit, please. Serena smiled sweetly before wrapping her arms around her friend. Alright. Thank you for understanding. This is just something I have to do. Izuku hugged back, blushing a bit from the hug. The two broke their hug with Serena proceeding to walk to her end of the field, Izuku watching her go with a conflicted frown on his face. Am I doing the right thing? Letting her go fight Bakugo, without helping her calm down? Izuku asked mentally. Is what Bakugo did to me for all those years, is it really so important to be angry at? Or am I just making excuses for him? Again. Izuku felt a hand on his shoulder. Izuku, what was with that hug with Serena about? Izuku heard Momo say. Oh, I was just wishing her good, Izuku said as he turned around only to freeze at what he saw. Momo, Higakure, Uraraka, and Mina staring at him with menacing dark ores. So, what was that about, huh? Momo asked again, her smile sickly sweet, her eyes opening to reveal a jealous glare in them. Yeah, Izzy, care to explain? Higakure said, her expression unknown to him, but her tone one that sent a shiver up his spine. Yes, what was that hug with Serena about, Deku? Uraraka repeated Momo's question, her smile likewise sweet yet looked dark and menacing. Yeah, Midori, I'm really curious to hear what you have to say for yourself. Mina said, her smile teasing as usual, but Izuku sensed something off of Mina, her playful tone more forced and her eyes twitching slightly. Well, nice knowing you, Boss Pikachu telepathically communicated from his bowl. As Midoriya explained his way out of the girl's ire, Todoroki stared at the green-haired teen, blankly. He looked down onto his left arm, remembering his recent match. Back then, during our battle with his Pikachu, Todoroki mentally recounted, remembering Pikachu's taunting faces, and Darmanitan's fight with Combuskin. The memories of the two Pokemon's fiery clash appeared as well. My left side, it started flaring up. He recounted how in each event, flames flickered out of his left side of his body. Todoroki growled, his left hand clenching in rage. He made me so angry, he made me flare up my left side. Damn it. But the field all repaired by Cementus, Serena and Bakugo stood on opposite sides of the field, glaring at each other. Send out your first Pokemon, Taishi called out. Go, Charmeleon. Bakugo yelled as he tossed his Pokeball. Out of the Pokeball popped out a dark red bipedal reptilian-like Pokemon. Its belly was cream-colored while the rest of its body was covered in dark red scales. Its long thin arms ended with 3 clawed hands. Its legs were shorter and sturdier, with 3 talons on its toes. Its head consisted of a long snout that slightly hooked at the by its nose, sharp blue eyes, and a horn protrusion coming off the back of its head. It finally had a long tail, dark red up top and cream-colored on the bottom, but its most distinguishing feature was the fire that sprouted from the tip of its tail. Bakugo has another rare Pokemon, Kirishima questioned. Lucky. He brought out his own Pokédex, Generation 2 Johto Pokédex, and scanned the rare Pokemon. Charmeleon, the flame Pokemon, and the evolved form of Charmander. It has a barbaric nature. In battle, it whips its fire tail around and slashes away with sharp claws. Bakugo must have chosen this Pokemon for its fire-type nature, Tokoyami said. Bakugo's explosion quirk is clearly fire-type by comparison, so it makes sense for him to have chosen another rare Pokemon of the same typing. Wait, so which one of his rare Pokemon was he rewarded, Kulava or Charmeleon? Kaminari asked. Kulava has been Bakugo's partner since we were little, Izuku informed. The Charmeleon must clearly be his reward Pokemon from the entrance exam. Wait, Midoriya, so you and Bakugo knew each other before you, eh? Kyoka asked. Oh, right. Izuku thought. Only Serena knows the full details on my past, while Momo and the others only know a little. Forgot that the rest of the class is clueless on me and Bakugo's history. Yeah. Izuku answered. Me and Bakugo practically grew up together and were friends until we grew apart. The class grew silent at the awkward energy that started growing. Izuku's friends turned their gazes back at Katsuki Bakugo with displeasure and even hatred, while the rest of the class were curious, yet chose to keep silent. Oh, I'm sorry. Kyoka apologized. Didn't mean to dig up any bad memories or anything. It's alright. Izuku said, a small smile in response. It's in the past. Cough bullshit cough Pikachu fake coughed, yet Izuku chose to ignore it. Come on out, Brian. Serena yelled as she tossed her own Pokeball, a stream of sparkling bubbles coming out of the Pokeball with a standard white light. Appearing out of the white light and the bubbles came out a blue-colored Pokemon. Its head was ovalish with a cone-like snout, ended with a white tip and a spherical pink nose, a small, smiling mouth, 2 large dark eyes with pinkish pupils, and ears segmented into 3 parts, an ovalish blue beginning, pale blue circles in the middle, and larger white circles at the end. Its front arms were flippers, blue in color before ending on white paw tips, while its lower half was simply a blue tail with white tips. Uniquely, around the middle of its thin body, there were 3 ruffle-like growths. The first ruffle, underneath its front flippers were white, and the shortest, the second, middling one was larger and pale blue, and the final one, the largest ruffle-like growth, was white too. So that must be Serena's reward Pokemon, right? Kaminari asked as he brought out his Pokédex and scanned the new Pokemon. Brian, the pop star Pokemon, and the evolved form of Poplio. A skillful dancer, it creates a sequence of water balloons as it dances, and briskly bombards its enemies. Wait, doesn't she also have a Piplup? Sero asked. Yeah, but it was still in its first evolution state, Asui pointed out. If the Piplup was her reward Pokemon, then it wouldn't be a Piplup, but rather its evolution, Prinplup. Am I right, Midoriya? Izuku nodded in response. Piplup was Serena's first and most loyal Pokemon. When I first met her, Serena's Piplup was rather protective of her and blasted water in my face, Izuku said, rubbing his neck at the memory. The girls giggled at the adorable sight of a Piplup spraying water on Izuku's face. Also, the entrance of her Pokemon was another seal, right? Sato asked. Eh? Monoma replied. It appears Mademoiselle Mariella had a foamy seal that produces those blue bubbles. Impressive entrance, though my twinkle seal was far more magnifique. Regardless, it seems Mariella has an advantage in this fight, Shoji said. She has 2 water types to Bakugo's 2 fire types, and I wager that her last Pokemon is also water type. Fighters ready, Taishi called out, to which Serena and Bakugo nodded. Then battle begin. Fire Dragon Breath, Bakugo ordered the very next second. Charmeleon reared his head back and fired stream of purple flames at Brian. Whoa, Bakugo doesn't waste any time, huh? Kirishima said, less a question and more a statement. It's how he always was. Never questions himself, never hesitates. Izuku replied. Traits that I always admired him for and wanted to be. Clear it away with disarming voice, Serena yelled. Brian let out a charming cry, mystical pink sound waves firing from her mouth. The sound waves crashed into the stream of purple fire, the 2 moves cancelling each other. Now fire Bubble Beam, Serena yelled once more. Brian fired a stream of sparkling bubbles flying towards Charmeleon fast. Blast it away with Flamethrower, Bakugo commanded. Charmeleon fired a powerful stream of red flames that collided with the bubble beam, the 2 attacks creating a wall of smoke and vapor. They are just firing ranged attacks at each other, and cancelling them, Sero pointed out. No, it's more than that, Momo jumped in. As arrogant as he is, Bakugo is clearly smart in his own right, as well as Serena. They are clearly testing their abilities and strengths. They are clearly not underestimating each other and gauging their strengths. Brian, strike quickly with the quad jet, Serena yelled. Brian was enveloped in water and shot towards Charmeleon like a watery missile. It shot through the smoke and vapor and was rapidly reaching Charmeleon. Bakugo eyes whitened slightly before quickly yelling out intercept with slash. Charmeleon's claws glowed white and grew larger and thrusted them out to meet Brian's water jet. The two Pokemon contested their strengths, the two not giving away an inch, until Serena ordered out point-blank round. Brian let out a melodious cry, multicolored sound waves shooting out of her mouth and striking the defenseless fire type, it crying out in pain. In his pain, it let go of Brian who collided its watery body into Charmeleon's chest. What? Bakugo yelled. Now bounce away and fire Bubble Beam, Serena commanded. Brian flipped its body in midair, landing its tail onto Charmeleon's head, before using it as a springboard and jumping away. As it jumped back, it fired a stream of bubbles at Charmeleon. Dodge, Bakugo ordered, Charmeleon complying by diving to his right, the bubbles crashing onto the ground he once stood on. Wow, Serena is going all out, Uraraka cheered. A point-blank attack to knock Bakugo's Charmeleon off its guard and deliver another its previous attack, finishing it a ranged attack to keep Charmeleon of it. Iida summarized. And with a super effective with the quad jet, it is most impressive. Actually, Round was also super effective against Charmeleon. Izuku jumped in. I might not be the smartest guy, but even I'm sure that Round is a normal type move, Kaminari pointed out. Since when has normal been super effective against fire? It isn't, Izuku replied. But Round is. Serena's Brian has the hidden ability known as Liquid Voice. Liquid Voice? Mina questioned. It's an ability that changes sound-based attacks into water-type ones. Momo answered, her eyes alight in realization. And since Round is sound-based, then Liquid Voice changed Round to a water-type attack. I guess that's why Charmeleon looks so hurt by Round more than usual, Kagakure said. Awesome. Disarming voice, Serena yelled, Brian releasing another wave of mystical pink sound waves. Flamethrower. Bakugo roared, Charmeleon firing a stream of fire and intercepting the sound waves, again cancelling each other out. Strike quickly, a quad jet, Serena ordered, Brian once more enveloped in water and shot towards the fire-type Pokemon. As the pop-star Pokemon neared the flame Pokemon, Bakugo grinned. You think I'd fall for that same shit twice, Charmeleon, Thunder Punch. Serena's eyes widened in alarm. Charmeleon's clawed paw was enveloped in yellow electricity and struck the water-type Pokemon head-on, its strength and its super effectiveness pushing the in-pain Pokemon flying back. Ouch, that sure did some damage, Kyoka said. Bakugo must have taught his Charmeleon a move that would be super effective against the type it was weak against, Tokoyami said. A smart decision to even the odds. Rush at it with double Thunder Punch, Bakugo ordered. Both of Charmeleon's fists glowed and sparked in yellow electricity, and charged the pop-star Pokemon. Dodge with the quad jet, Serena ordered. Brian was covered in water once more and shot herself away, as Charmeleon attempted to jab at her with his electrical fists. Keep hitting it, Bakugo yelled, Charmeleon complying by continuing to rush at the dodging Pokemon. Circle him and fire Bubble Beam, Serena commanded. Brian, still soaring with the quad jet, circled around the fire type before firing a barrage of sparkling bubbles that quickly surrounded him and grew closer. Destroyed them all with Dragon Breath, Bakugo roared. Charmeleon roared out another stream of purple fire, and spun around to destroy all the bubbles, yet surrounded him in smoke and vapor. Round, Serena yelled. Out of the vapor, the multicolored sound waves appeared out and slammed into Charmeleon, causing him to cry out in pain. Clear it away with Dragon Breath and charge it with Thunder Punch, Bakugo yelled. Charmeleon roared another purple fire stream, clearing the vapor and steam, revealing Brian, and charging at her with an electrified fist. Brian flew back as it cried out in pain. Brian got up with a struggle, both Pokemon panting tiredly and covered in scratches and bruises. They both looked so close to passing out, Uraraka said. I'm actually quite impressed that Bakugo's Charmeleon has lasted this long against Brian, Momo said. Full power, Dragon Breath, Bakugo roared. Charmeleon spewed a large stream of fire that raced towards Brian. Dive, Serena yelled. The purple flames reached where Brian was, Bakugo grinning as he thought Brian was consumed by the flames. But when the flames faded, there was no sign of Brian. What? Bakugo questioned. Where the fuck did that shitty Pokemon go? Serena's eye twitched at the insult to her Pokemon, yet still smiled. Look down, she said. As Bakugo looked down to see a watery shadow underneath Charmeleon, Serena yelled rise and full power round. Charmeleon quickly looked down as Brian magically shot out of the ground and collided into his stomach, making him gape in pain, only to be later sent flying by Round being directly fired on him. Charmeleon landed in a hard thud in front of Bakugo, struggling to get up before slumping over, its eyes black swirls. Charmeleon is unable to battle, Taishi announced. Brian wins. Who? Kagakure cheered. Way to go, Brian and Serena. That was actually a close and cool fight, Kaminari said. Props to Bakugo's Charmeleon lasting so long. It must be really strong. Come back, Brian. Serena said, as she pointed her Pokeball to Brian, returning it. You did good out there, but now rest up. Wait, why is she returning Brian? Sato asked. It looks practically exhausted after that fight, so it makes sense that she returns her to rest up for later. Asai replied. Students, send out your next Pokemon. Taishi said. Bakugo growled in anger as he returned Charmeleon, cursing silently before grabbing his second Pokeball. Show this extra her place, Gyarados. Out of the Pokeball in the white light, materialized a large serpentine-like Pokemon. Its lower half of its serpentine-like body was colored yellow, while its upper half was a red color of scales, with yellow spots rolling down its sides. Four spiky dorsal fins stuck out its back, each one growing smaller as it trailed down to its tail, which was split into 3 red lines, the middle on the widest, and 2 white fins in between the 3 lines. And finally its head was large with glaring, hate-filled red eyes, much like its trainer. A 3-pointed, dark red crest rested on his head. Its large and gaping mouth bore 4 razor-sharp teeth, and finally had a tan-colored barbel and a small white fin on each side of its face. Its mighty, loud roar shook the students and covered their ears. Holy shit. Kaminari cursed. He has a freaking Gyarados. And a shiny one too. Sato yelled. Those things are super rare. That's so badass. Kirishima yelled pumped. Ojiro brought out his own Pokédex, Generation 1 Dex, once more, and scanned the Pokémon. Gyarados, the atrocious Pokémon, and the evolved form of Magikarp. Brutally vicious and enormously destructive, this Pokémon is known for completely destroying cities in ancient times. I can see why he, of all people, would definitely love to have one. Mina said. Izuku would flinch at the sight of the monstrous, large Pokémon. Its red, raging eyes felt like he was looking at a perfection Pokémon equivalent to Bakugo outside of Kolava. A painful memory would play out in his mind of he and Bakugo's past. Geez, Deku, you really are totally useless. Child Bakugo said as Deku failed at bouncing the soccer ball as good as Bakugo. You're like a human Magikarp. So worthless. But Magikarps can still do great. Child Izuku stutteringly retorted. They can evolve to Gyarados, a powerful and strong Pokémon. One of the strongest even. I guess you were right about that. Bakugo cupped his chin in thought before grinning wickedly. I know. You are more like a stupid Caterpie. A weak little bug that is still weak when it evolves. The crowd of kids around them laughed and pointed fingers at him. Caterpie Deku. It fits super well. Weak, useless, and no ever cares about. Hey, he's actually worse than a Caterpie. At least some weird bug catcher would catch one, while nobody would want Deku. Izuku would whimper and stand there at the ridiculing laughs and taunts that echoed around him. Izuku shook himself from his memory, as he would notice Serena making a move. Serena was at first scared of the large, intimidating Pokémon, only for her to grin. How about that? She said. You two look meant for each other. Both of you have an ugly face that only a mother would love. Bakugo and Gyarados grew a comical tick mark and growled at her, Gyarados looking especially ready to blast her into pieces. Hey, you guys look like you are going to explode, how about we cool you two down? Serena questioned as he brought out her second Pokeball. Melodic, come on out. From the white light of the Pokeball, came forth a beautiful, dazzling creature. This Pokemon's was serpentine-like as well, though smaller compared to the atrocious Pokemon, and far more elegant looking. Its serpentine-like body was primarily cream-colored, from its head to the middle of its body, where its lower end of its body was covered in blue and pink diamond-patterned scales outlined in black. Its tail split into 4, overlapping blue fins with pink ovals in the center, that seemed to shift in color as they shifted from the student's line of sight. 3 black dots ran down the side of its graceful neck, appearing almost like gills. Its head included red eyes, long, pink antennas and long, pink, hair-like fins above its eyes, that appeared like comically long eyebrows that flowed down, and were as long as half of its own body. Its graceful cry sent shivers down the spines of the students, even Taishi smiled at the proclaimed most beautiful Pokemon of all. It's beautiful. Uraraka gasped out. She dug out her Pokédex, Generation 3 Kanto Pokédex, and scanned the beautiful creature. Melodic, the tender Pokemon, and the evolved form of Phoebus. Melodic is said to be the most beautiful of all Pokemon. It has the power to become such emotions as anger and hostility to quell bitter feuding. As much as I want to keep being angry at this jerk, having you out makes my head feel clear. Serena spoke to Melodic. Thanks Melodic. Good. Melodic cried out, its eyes closed in a smile. After all the time I've seen her, she still looks amazing. Izuku commented with a fond smile. I suppose that you knew Serena had Melodic all along since you two were friends before you, eh? Ida said, less a question and more a statement. You kidding? I was there the whole time Serena dragged me to a river a few miles away from Nusatafu to fish a Phoebus that she liked. Izuku said, slumping in comical tiredness. I was on that boat fishing up Phoebuses for hours before she finally fished up the right one. I also helped her evolve it into melodic when she finally got a prism scale and wanted to trade it back and forth to evolve it. Dang. Kirishima said. That's rough, buddy. He's so whipped. Sero chuckled out to Kaminari. Excuse me, but is there a problem with that? Sero paled as the girls, minus Kyuka and Asui, glared at Sero, Momo the one who asked the question. Is it wrong to be so helpful to one of your friends? As Sero stuttered and explained for his life, and Serena and Bakugo were starting their fight upon Taishi's announcement, Izuku felt a hand on his shoulder. He turned to find the hand belonging to Todoroki. Todoroki? Izuku questioned. We need to talk, Todoroki said. The two stood a good distance away from the group of students, with only the destruction and battle between Pokemon audible. Todoroki insisted that he wished to talk without the group listening. Izuku, reluctant to accept in favor of watching Serena's match against Bakugo, begrudgingly complied. Now, Izuku stood there, squirming at the awkward silence, with the exception of an occasional explosion from either melodic or gyrados, and Todoroki's cold, emotionless stare. After what felt like an eternity of silence from the white and red-haired teen, Izuku said, Okay, great work in that fight. I'm sorry that it ended in a draw, but you should be proud of Pokemon for their... It wasn't a draw. Todoroki interrupted Izuku. Deku blinked in confusion. Sorry, Izuku said. I said that fight wasn't a draw. Todoroki repeated. You know full well that it wasn't. If you didn't return and forfeit your Pikachu in that fight, then you would have won. So why? Why did you really do that knowing it would mean you could lose? Izuku was silent, his confused expression hardened. I did what I did because I felt it was the right thing to do. Izuku answered. Even though Pikachu defeated your Ninetales, I knew that he would have easily been defeated by Darmanitan or whoever your fourth Pokemon was. It would have ended up the same when I let Eevee continue fighting. Izuku peered down to the Pikachu's Pokeball around his neck. Don't get me wrong. I have faith in Pikachu. He's the strongest Pokemon I know, and he could have fought well against your Pokemon. But the decision to let Pikachu continue fighting, tired and hurt, it felt wrong to me. For all I knew I would have sent Pikachu to a fight he couldn't win, and for what? A bit more damage to your Pokemons. The guilty conscience in letting my friend get needlessly hurt when I could have done something. Izuku stared back at Todoroki with a determined stare. But I guess we won't know now. Izuku continued. But I did what felt was right to my Pokemon, not to me. You can say whatever you like, whether it was a draw or not. To me, it was just the two of our Pokemon giving it their all and left with more to learn. Is that what you wanted to hear? Todoroki was silent and motionless. His mouth was still in a thin line, his eyes were unblinking, no expression. If Izuku didn't know any better, he would have, though Todoroki was in fact frozen a statue. Till finally, he responded. You're an interesting person, Izuku Midoriya. Todoroki said. Choosing someone else's needs before your own. How very heroic of you. I guess my curiousness can be put at ease. Izuku sighed, a small smile on his face. However, Todoroki continued. That still doesn't change what I meant and said. That fight, to me, was still my loss, your victory. It is definitely what they think as well. Todoroki gestured to the rest of the class watching the Pokemon battle. And I'll just say this. Next time we fight, whether it is between us, our Pokemon, or both, I will win, with my own power. Todoroki turned and began walking back to the group, just as Bakugo's gyrados fell to the ground. Todoroki. Todoroki stopped and turned to Izuku, who stared at him with a smile and a fiery spirit in his eyes. I look forward to it, and hope you bring everything you got for that fight. Todoroki's eyes narrowed at the green-haired teen before turning back and continued walking back to the group, Izuku following close behind. Meanwhile, despite his outward confident appearance, Izuku mentally screamed. Oh Arceus, that was intense. Izuku mentally groaned. He was so intense and silent, I thought I was going to have an anxiety attack. Izuku heard the sighs from his three Pokemon. Well, I know one thing from this little talk, boss. Pikachu mentally said. Confidence still needs work. Yep. Eevee's voice agreed. Agreed. Combuskin jumped in. Thanks guys. Izuku replied dryly. Battle begin. Taishi yelled out. Izuku arrived back to the group alongside Todoroki, the half-cold half-hot user walking to the other end of the group by himself, while Izuku arrived back to his friends. I'm back. Izuku said. So, what'd I miss? Serena's melodic defeated Bakugo's gyrados. Uraraka said, her voice still excited. You should have seen a Deku, it was so cool. You bet it was awesome. Kirishima yelled. It got me so pumped up watching those two powerful Pokemon fight. Manly. Just as good as Momo's and Iida's last fight, maybe close to Midoriya's Pikachu against Todoroki's Ninetales. Kaminari added. Man, you should have seen it. Yeah, I guess. Izuku said, mentally kicking himself in disappointment in having missed the fight. Speaking of which, what did you and Todoroki talked about? Asui asked. He wasn't happy with how you two's match ended. You could say that. Izuku replied. Wanted to know why I threw the match in returning Pikachu, and that next time we fight, he would win. Wow, didn't think of Todoroki as the competitive type. Mina said. Thought he was more the emo, I don't give a shit type of guy. So, what's going on now? Izuku asked, his attention back to the battle. Serena returned her melodic, my guess because it was super hurt by that super strong Gyarados, and now she brought out her Piplup against Bakugo's last Pokemon, Kolava. Higakure informed Deku. Momo brought out her Pokédex and scanned Serena's Pokemon. Piplup, the penguin Pokemon. Because it is very proud, it hates accepting food from people. Its stick down guards it from cold. Bubble Beam. Serena ordered. Piplup jumped up and fired a barrage of bubbles towards Kolava. Destroy it with flamethrower. Bakugo yelled, Kolava firing a stream of fire that cancelled the water-type move in an explosion of smoke. Now charge with quick attack. Kolava complied by racing towards Piplup, a trail of white light behind him. Stop him with Ice Beam. Serena ordered. Icy blue energy gathered in Piplup's beak before firing it in 3 bolts of icy energy. Dodge. Bakugo yelled. Kolava sidestepped and jumped away from the beams of icy energy as they froze the ground around him. Soon Kolava reached where Piplup was just about to land. Strike. Bakugo yelled, Kolava complying by jumping forwards and slamming into the penguin Pokemon. Now bite. Kolava sank its glowing fangs onto Piplup, the Pokemon crying out in pain, and swung the water-type Pokemon into the ground. Piplup. Serena yelled in worry. Now slam down with Flame Wheel. Bakugo continued ordering. Kolava spun in mid-air as the flames on his head and back grew and spread, till he was a wheel of fire, falling towards Piplup. Oh no. Higakure cried out. Get out of there. Piplup, dive forwards and slide. Serena quickly ordered. Piplup quickly shook of its pain and dove forwards as Kolava slammed into the ground. As Kolava chased after it, still using Flame Wheel, Piplup continued sliding fast, using the frozen ground as an icy slide. Piplup's using the ground as a slide. Mina noted excited. Like with Midoriya and Pikachu. Piplups are not great at running but they are good at sliding down ice with their bellies. Izuku stuttered, a blush on his face from Mina's nickname for him. She knew the Kolava would dodge the ice beam, but kept at it to create an environment that Piplup could have the advantage in. As if on cue, Kolava's fiery wheel form went through a patch of icy ground and swerved and shook until it tumbled onto the ground. Damn it. Bakugo cursed loudly. I see. Ida jumped in. Not only is this field good for Piplup, but also a disadvantage for Kolava by reducing his movement, including making it hard to move with Flame Wheel. Quickly, Bubble Beam. Serena ordered. Piplup went up an icy rampant form with Ice Beam, twisted its body in mid-air, and fired another barrage of bubbles towards Kolava as it was getting up. The bubbles landed their mark as Kolava cried out in pain at the water bubbles pelting his form. Bakugo growled in anger before yelling, Get out of there, smoke screen. Kolava spewed black smoke from its fiery holes and was enveloped in smoke. Piplup landed and looked around for Kolava as the smoke surrounded the area around her. Where is it? Serena mumbled. Quick attack. Bakugo yelled. From out of the shadows, Kolava popped out and slammed into Piplup with quick attack. Piplup, strike with Peck. Serena yelled. Piplup's beak grew and glowed white and tried to jab the volcano Pokemon, only for him to dodge and jump right back into the smoke. Keep at it. Quick attack. Bakugo yelled. Kolava would continue jumping out of the smoke to strike at Piplup with quick attack over and over, dodging pecks and bubble beams from Piplup with its speed, before jumping into the smoke to strike once more. Kolava's using the smoke blind Piplup so it can do continuous hit and run attacks, chipping Piplup's health down bit by bit. Momo analyzed. Serena grumbled. What can I do? She thought. At this rate, Piplup is going to get defeated. But I can't see where it's coming from through all this smoke. How can I fight something I can't see or get close to? Serena's eyes whitened as she remembered Pikachu's Thunder Shield and how it launched it like a shockwave. That's it. Piplup, time to take a page of Izuku's playbook. Serena said. Spin around while using Bubble Beam. Piplup, while slightly pissed at copying something that Pikachu did, complied and spun around on its foot, firing bubbles all around him, forming a sort of shockwave of bubbles spilling out into smoke. A second later, a pained cry came from the smoke, Piplup whirling to where it came from. Focus fire, Bubble Beam. Serena yelled. Piplup fired another barrage of bubbles to where the smoke was, leading to another pained cry. A second later, Kolava rushed out of the smoke, straight through the bubbles and towards Piplup. Take down. Bakugo yelled. Kolava slammed his head into Piplup, the penguin Pokemon crying out as it flew backwards, Kolava flinching at the recoil damage. The smoke disappeared to show the whole field, Kolava panting exhausted and with various scratches on him, while Piplup got back up, likewise panting. They both look like they are on their last legs. Shoji noted. Come on, Serena, Piplup, win this. Izuku cheered. I'm not going to lose. Bakugo growled, his tone low and barely hearable. Memories of his numerous losses to Deku playing in his mind, from learning Deku scored higher on the entrance exam than him, to his recent defeat in the battle training exam. Not again, damn it. Kolava, charge. Kulava complied and ran towards Piplup. You aren't winning this. Serena whispered, memories of her own flashing of Izuku telling her of his bullying by Bakugo, his sad pained expression, and the fear she felt during the battle training exam. I won't let you get off easy. Piplup, blast him away, full power bubble beam. Piplup breathed deep before unleashing a large amount of bubbles towards the approaching Kulava. Bakugo suddenly grinned. You aren't the only one that can copy someone's moves, shitty Deku. Bakugo said. Kulava, slide into horizontal flame wheel. Horizontal what? Kaminari asked confused. Izuku frowned in confusion before noticing the ground between Kulava and Piplup. His eyes widened in surprise. Is he? Kulava suddenly ducked, sliding towards the bubble beam on the ice from Piplup's ice beam, before spinning around and forming once more a flaming wheel, this time, however, horizontally. He's using the ice from Piplup's ice beam. Uraraka said in shock. Just like Deku and Pikachu did against Ninetales. Now powered up with flamethrower. Bakugo roared. From the horizontal flaming wheel, a stream of fire spewed out and lash spread out towards the whole area. Cementus quickly acted and shielded the ducking students with a wall of cement. Taishi's eyes widened before performing a backflip, vaulting over the flames. The flames quickly gathered into the flame wheel, the flames grew bigger and brighter. Kulava's larger flaming wheel reached a barrage of bubbles, the bubbles popping and dying uselessly on the flames. Serena's eyes widened in shock. He's using the flamethrower to power up flame wheel. She mentally exclaimed. The combined firepower is like a fire shield, like Pikachu and his thunder shield. Kulava plowed through the bubbles and crashed into a shocked Piplup, creating a large fire explosion. Piplup! Serena yelled. Piplup flew backwards, his body slightly singed, and landed into Serena's outstretched arms. Serena looked down at her partner Pokemon, its eyes replaced by black swirls. Taishi looked at the condition of Piplup, and announced, Piplup is unable to battle. Kulava is the winner. The rest of the class, now watching after Cementus lowered the wall of cement, were shocked at the outcome. Aw man. Higakure whined softly. Too bad for Piplup. And she was doing so well. The guy may be an ass, but he is almost as strategic and quick-thinking as you, Midori. Mina admitted. Izuku nodded silently, feeling bad for Piplup's defeat. He looked over to the smirking former friend of his and was conflicted. He felt an initial rage over Bakugo and Kulava over what they did to Piplup, but quickly found that rage to be rather petty, especially since this was a Pokemon battle. He also respected Bakugo's quick ingenuity and adaptation, yet couldn't help but feel that Bakugo's smirk to be rather petty itself and much. Izuku felt that Bakugo might have enjoyed that outcome a bit too much. Looks like Bakugo's making a comeback. Kirishima said. That's so manly. Gets me pumped up. It doesn't matter. Todoroki chimed in. He's already lost. The class turned to their mostly silent classmate. What did you mean? Kaminari asked. Just look at his Pokemon. Todoroki pointed towards Kulava. The class looked to the volcano Pokemon and realized he was right. Kulava was panting heavily, struggling to keep himself standing with shaky legs. That attack must have took much of him. Sato said. He's barely able to stand. And Serena still got 2 Pokemon left. Momo finished his train of thought. Mariella, send out your next Pokemon. Taishi's word made Bakugo smirk fall in realization. Serena returned Piplup and stared angrily at Bakugo. That's it. Serena muttered, grabbing another Pokeball. No holding back. Melodic, finish him. Serena tossed out her Pokeball, and out came Melodic once more, a few scratches on the beautiful Pokemon's form, but way more healthier than Kulava. Battle begin. Taishi yelled. Kulava, Kwai. Melodic, Hydro Pump, full blast. Blue energy formed around Melodic's open mouth before unleashing a powerful torrent of water towards Kulava. The volcano Pokemon barely had a chance to widen its eyes before it was consumed in the water, an explosion of debris occurring from its location. The debris cleared to reveal heavily bruised Kulava on his side, its eyes black swirls. Kulava is unable to battle. Melodic wins. Taishi announced. The match goes to Serena Mariella. Holy shit. Kaminari muttered, his eyes wide in terror. Remind me never to get Mariella pissed off. Sero stuttered. That attack happened so fast I just blinked and that happened. Izuku sighed, relieved that the tense battle was over. He turned to see Serena returning Melodic, her eyes void of her previous anger, and now just looked tired. Serena doesn't look too happy. Uraraka pointed out. She looks tired actually. She appeared to be in a rather foul mood towards Bakugo. Ida said. Perhaps victory didn't taste as sweet as she wanted. Anger and rage is a fire that burns quickly. Tokoyami sagely said. I don't think that saying works well with the hothead. Sero said as he gestured towards Bakugo, said hothead returning Kulava, growling and muttering curses, his face scrunched in pure anger. The two met with the class, Taishi joining them, who said well fought match, to the both of you. However, I would like to point out a few flaws to the both of you. Bakugo. Taishi said, turning to the spiky blonde. Your strategies and your Pokemon's adaptability and strength is impressive. However, you were too rash and reckless as the fights went on. The last battle with Kolava and Piplup, although ending in victory, left your Pokemon practically unfightable. I urge you to show more caution to your Pokemon's well-being, and to temper that anger of yours. Bakugo replied with a typical scoff, turning his head away in a huff. As for you, Miss Mariella, the same applies to you. Taishi said, turning to the strawberry blonde teen. Your Pokemon's abilities and your strategies were just as impressive, though I sensed or noticed that you were rather disturbed in your fight, angry really towards Bakugo, such as Melodic's powerful attack against a weakened opponent. While I respect the need to quickly incapacitate your foe's Pokemon, that is the purpose of battling. However, just like Mr. Bakugo, I advise restraint and temperance on your anger, as you could have easily caused permanent damage to Kolava with such a powerful attack at his weakened state. Yes, sir. Serena said, her eyes flinching in guilt. Well, with that settled, I believe that marks the end of this exercise, and right on time too. Taishi said, looking to a watch on his wrist. That concludes today's classes. Splendid job on your battles, everybody. I trust that these battles have enlightened you to each other's strengths and weaknesses that you need to work on. I will have a detailed report to your homeroom teacher of my analysis between you and your Pokemon. For now, class dismissed. Oh, and be sure to check in with Recovery Girl to get your Pokemon all healed up. That's it for today, everyone, and thank you Cementus for helping fix the field and protect the students from some rather explosive debris. With a nod from the students began their trek to Recovery Girl's office, but not before Momo spoke up. Sir? Momo called out to the teacher's retreating form. Yes? Taishi said, turning his head to the raven-haired teen. Speaking of the powerful explosions, you remain rather unscathed, especially from Midoriya and Todoroki's final battle and Bakugo's Kolava's flames. Momo spoke. May I ask how you remain as such? You court perhaps? Taishi was silent for a moment, before answering her question with a kind smile and closed eyes. Oh no, I just simply jumped out of the way. Taishi answered. You can't do much else to block such things when you're quirkless. The class gaped in surprise at his answer, Izuku the most affected. He's quirkless, Izuku mentally exclaimed in pure shock. Jay, just like me. Well, I better be going now to see Principal Nezu. Taishi said. Ta-ta for now. Taishi continued to walk away, waving his hand back to the group of stunned students behind him. After the group shook of their shock, they indeed headed to Recovery Girl's room, both Recovery Girl and her Chansey, quickly healing up all the students' Pokemons. Afterwards, the students went back to the classroom, gathered their belongings and headed out for the day. As the newly formed and expanding Deku squad, now including Serena, Mina, and even Tsuyu walked, Izuku was currently busy in thought. Mr. Taishi is quirkless. He thought. Just like me. Is it so shocking for you to hear that, boss? Pikachu mentally spoke to Izuku, currently sitting on his shoulder. You were quirkless yourself a couple of months ago. Yeah, but you forget that I never really met another quirkless person. Izuku pointed out. I know that well 20% of the population is quirkless, that's only millions out billions of people all over the world. It's rare for a reason, and I was the only one out of everyone that I ever met up until now. Pikachu was silent, knowing now why Izuku was so shocked to see another quirkless person. You felt all alone. Pikachu mentally replied. Even though there are millions of people out there just like you, you still felt all alone in the world. I guess. Izuku muttered mentally. Well, cheer up, Izuku. Eevee chimed in mentally. Now you have met someone who is quirkless. Hell, I bet there is someone you met who was quirkless that you met before. Really? Izuku mentally questioned. Like who? All Might. Eevee replied. What? Izuku yelled mentally. It's true. Combuskin joined the mental conversation. If One for All was indeed All Might's only quirk, and it's a quirk that is passed down, then that would mean that before he got the quirk, he was quirkless too. You're right. Izuku exclaimed. I guess I never thought about that. Damn it, I feel so stupid now. Don't beat yourself up too much, Izuku. Eevee said. I admit it is rather surprising to think that All Might himself was once quirkless too. Plus, you weren't all alone. You had me, and then Pikachu, and now Combuskin and everyone. Right, Pikachu? Pikachu. Izuku turned his head to see Pikachu was silent and frowning, his eyes looking sad. Pikachu. What's wrong? Pikachu snapped out of his stupor and quickly replied, nothing, boss. Just thinking about something. And yeah, Eevee's right. You're sure as hell not alone, boss. Not well, you have your friends, your partners, and me riding on your, still hard to believe, strong shoulder. Izuku chuckled and rolled his eyes. What's funny, Deku? Uraraka asked. Izuku turned his attention to his friends who stared at him after his chuckle. Oh, it's nothing. He stuttered, yelled out. Just chuckling at when Pikachu made those faces to Todoroki's Ninetales. Yeah, that was so hilarious. Mina chuckled. I swear you are rapidly becoming one of my favorite Pokemon, Pikachu. Mina started scratching at Pikachu's chin, the electric mouse Pokemon shivering and crying in delight. Oh Arceus, that's so good. Pikachu said. Speaking of the battles, I do wish to say that you were all really impressive in your battles. Iida spoke up. I expected nothing less of fellow UA students. Thank you Iida. Momo said. I must say that you were quite impressive yourself in our match, especially the move where your Lucario broke through my Wartortle's whirlpool. Thank you Yaoi Rozo. Iida nodded and perked up his glasses with pride. Me and Lucario have trained hard throughout our years together, and, while I do feel disappointed at our loss, I am truly grateful for this learning experience. Speaking of learning experiences, can you teach me and my Pokemon that counter shield move of yours, Midoriya? Asui asked her fellow green-haired teen. I have a feeling that me and my Palpitid would benefit from it. Of course, Asui. Izuku answered. I told you to call me Tsu. Asui replied. Sorry, Asu I mean Tsu. Izuku said. Better. Tsu said pleased. Ribbit. Ooh, me too, Midori. Mina said excited. That counter shield thing you and Pikachu did was so sick. It was like he was breakdancing. It would be so cool to do a protective dance that me and my Pokemon can practice. You dance, Mina? Higakure asked. Hell yeah, girl. Mina said with a big smile on her face. I don't like to brag, but I consider myself a dancing pro. That makes two of us. Serena chimed in. You dance too, Mariella? Uraraka asked herself. Yeah. Serena replied. I took up dancing lesson when I first wanted to be a Pokemon performer coordinator. Izuku noticed Serena's voice to be rather down. Serena, are you okay? Serena turned to her best friend. You seem rather down. Izuku said. You will like this after your match with Bakugo. Oh, have I? Serena questioned. Sorry, I guess I was just thinking over what Mr. Taishi said. You know, about taking my anger out on Bakugo and Kolava. Don't beat yourself up too much about that, girl. Mina said. If I were fighting that annoying prick, I would have done the same. Indeed. Iida said. Well, I may not have done the same. These battles, as Mr. Taishi said, were for us to recognize our faults and work to improve them. I'm sure that you will do better next time. It's more than that. Serena said. During that fight, I wanted to make him suffer so bad. I wanted to make him pay for what he did to you, Izu. For yesterday I mean. I couldn't stand the feeling that he almost hurt you or could have even, and all he got was a slap on the wrist. It just didn't seem fair. And so I wanted to make him pay, humiliate him really. But instead I took it out on his Pokemon, and seriously hurt that Kolava. What kind of hero can even think to do that? What kind of person would want to do that? The group was silent as they stared sadly at their new friend, as she looked like a step away from breaking down in guilt. Suddenly the group stooped as Izuku super sped and stopped in front of Serena. A person. Izuku said. Just any kind of person. Like me. The group blinked in surprise at Izuku's answer, especially Serena Izu. Yesterday, during the battle training exercise, I felt the same as you did, Serena. Izuku continued, looking down at his hand. When we fought, I wanted to beat him so badly. I wanted to prove to him that I wasn't the bug that he thought of me as. But, in one moment, I wanted to hurt him. I was so angry, I wanted to make him pay for all the words, all the pain he caused me. I wouldn't lie when I say that when I beaten him, that I felt a little bit of satisfaction. And like you, I felt guilty. Guilty for thinking that, guilty for doing that, guilty for making him think I lied to him. That was why I ran to talk to him after class. I wanted to apologize and make things clear to him, even after everything we've been through. Izuku clenched his hand into a fist. I know that you feel that you are a bad person for wanting to make some hurt so bad, but you're not. Izuku declared as he lifted his head to meet Serena's shocked eyes. You are just a person. A person that had a moment of weakness. Like anyone, like me. And that fact that you feel so guilty over it is all the proof that any one of us need, that you need, to prove that you are a good person. I had Pikachu and Eevee, but I didn't really had a friend after me and Bakugo's falling out. I felt alone. But then you came into my life and became my friend. The bestest friend I could ask. Just like you said I saved you, you also saved me. By being the good person who helped cool me on that beach. By being a shoulder to cry on after a rough day at school. By being there for me and saying that I could be a hero. That's the kind of person that you are, Serena. My friend and my own hero too. Serena was in complete shock, her eyes the size of saucers, a single tear flowed down her cheek. Soon that one tear turned to a river of them, and a gape mouth turned to a shaky one, and a guilty, gloomy Serena became a grateful, crying one. Serena wrapped a shocked Izuku in her arms, tears flowing down her eyes to his shoulders. Thank you, Izu. Serena cried out and sniffled. You saved me again, my hero. Izuku's shock melted to a small smile, tears in his own eyes wrapping his friend in his arms. Anytime, my hero. Izuku replied. That's why I am here. As Serena continued crying her pain and guilt out, the rest of their friends watched with smiles and tears of their own. Mina and Higakure were practically bawling with big comical teary eyes, and holding each other in support. Iida's hidden eyes, behind his glasses, leaked tears of his own as he tried wiping them away with his arm, his mouth quivering. Uraraka and Momo wiped a tear from their eyes too, jealousy, for once, not present in their minds as they watched Serena hug Izuku. Rather they felt both proud and one more amazed by Izuku's chivalrous, kind heart. Even Asui wiped a tear from her eye too, her mouth morphed into a smile. Bravo. Bravo. Iida broke down and yelled out, clapping his hands. Absolutely wonderful sight I am blessed with. What? Now I am sad. Mina cried. Me too. Higakure cried out. Group hug. The group joined in and wrapped the two in a group hug, Pikachu likewise joining in by hugging both of Serena's and Izuku's heads. Suddenly, Izuku's and Serena's Pokeballs shook as they opened, and out of the white light popped out a likewise crying Eevee, Piplup, Combuskin, Brionne, and Melodic. Izuku noticed the tears and practically begging looks in their eyes and chuckled sadly. Alright, bring it in all of you. Izuku waved to them. The 5 Pokemon rushed in to hug them, with Piplup hugging Serena's head, Brionne her leg, Combuskin Izuku's waist, and Eevee Izuku's legs, while Melodic wrapped around all of them with her large body, while snuggling her head onto her trainer, and her trainer's crush. This is getting quite a big group hug. Uraraka chuckled. As soon as she said that, multiple Pokeballs simultaneously opened. Oh boy, Momo said. The group was then swarmed by likewise tearing Pokemon, consuming the group as they cried and laughed. Taishi looked out the window towards the setting sun smiling and chuckled. What is so humorous, Master Taishi? Nezu asked. Nothing, Taishi said, before wiping away a tear from his right eye. Just seeing that All Might chose right in choosing that boy to be his successor. I take it that Mr. Midoriya has once again done a heroic and kindly act. Nezu asked again. Indeed, Taishi said. The boy has an amazing heart. One full of kindness, compassion, and selflessness. I thought I saw enough after he chose his Pikachu's safety over his victory, but he surprises me still. I am told by All Might that it is a habit of his. Nezu chuckled. Speaking of surprises, I take it that one you weren't surprised of was his aura. Actually, I was surprised. Taishi admitted. Not that he did have aura, but just how powerful it is. Oh, how so? Nezu questioned. He both sensed my own aura and subconsciously activated his Combuskin's ability. Taishi revealed. My, that is surprising. Nezu said. Was this perhaps the work of One for All and his stockpiled energy including aura, or is this his own power? Well, I can feel the various auras and vast power inside his quirk. No, this wasn't One for All's doing. Taishi replied. It was clearly his own aura. One far more vast that I have ever seen. Interesting. Nezu said as he poured 2 cups of tea. So, when will you introduce your true origins to the boy and what he truly is? Soon. Taishi said as he took the offered cup of tea. I believe that he and his class are scheduled for the USJ tomorrow. I will hold off for afterwards, don't want to distract him too much. Wise and patient as always, old friend. Nezu said, taking the cup of tea into his own paws. Just as you taught me. Oh please, old friend. Taishi scoffed with a smile. Your patience is far more theatrical and dramatic than mine. Ha 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 ha. Nezu laughed maniacally. I suppose it is. The two tapped their cups together before taking a sip. The next day. Don't move, you puny heroes. Amidst the busy city of Misatafu, Mount Lady and Kamui Woods stood and panted at the situation before them. A large pink-shinned villain, easily half the size of the buildings surrounding them, held a family of 3, a father, mother, and daughter, in his grasp, the 3 trapped between his side and his large muscular arm. One step closer and I will kill this whole stinking family. The large pink villain threatened, raising his other hand over the 3 trapped civilians. You don't the blood of these damn civis on yours hand, now do you? Mount Lady gritted her teeth in frustration. Damn it. She mentally cursed. She surveyed the situation around her quickly. Kamui stood beside, panting equally to her, given how this villain tossed him around him, and her arm was bruised, likely sprained, due to a lucky blow the villain landed. Or maybe it was because she was too cocky. She peered to the situation behind them. The 2 villains' Pokemon, a Machamp and a Hariyama, were fighting against her Gorgeist and Kamui Sceptile. The 2 fighting types must have trained well, being able to tank the blows from both of the heroes' Pokemon. In any case, they were too busy fighting them off that they couldn't attack from behind. The 2 heroes also couldn't release any of the other Pokemon in fear of the villain retaliating against the civilians. Additionally, the family's own Pokemon, a Herdier, was barking at the villain to return his family, and from the looks of it, he was getting increasingly desperate enough to foolishly attack and do more harm to his family than good. Damn it. She cursed again. At this rate, the villain's going to escape with the hostages, or worse. What should I do? Never fear, dear citizens. Mount Lady gasped at the voice that she and everyone in their grandma knew. As if in the blink of an eye, a hulking figure fell down from the sky, his appearance shadowed by the bright sun above. Misery smash. The figure quickly descended and swiftly chopped the villain by his large muscles neck. A second later, the villain crashed to the ground unconscious, the civilians in the arms of the hulking, not so mysterious figure. Even on my morning commute, I am here to save the day. All Might proclaimed, smiling his big flashy smile. However, instead of his American-themed hero suit, he was wearing a large yellow and black striped dress shirt and pants over a white dress shirt. On anyone else, Mount Lady would have laughed, probably saying that he looked like a banana, but on the hulking figure of the symbol of peace, it looked rather dashing. Mount Lady's attention was snapped away from admiring the number 1 hero, and back towards the clashing Pokemon. The villains Machamp and Hariyama were stunned at the defeat of their villainous trainer, and growled in rage, as they were about to rush the symbol of peace and vengeance. Suddenly though, they stopped, their mouths agape and their eyes rolling to the back of their skulls, as they fell to the ground fainted. Standing over them was a Hulucha, wearing an All Might-themed mask, crying out in victory with a pose. "Oh, and my trusty Hulucha is here too," All Might said as he gently eased the citizens back to the ground. "Thanks for the same, old buddy." "Hulucha," All Might's Hulucha cried out. Mount Lady sighed in relief, smiling at All Might saving the day, as usual. Kamui too sighed in relief, though she can tell that his pride was rather wounded that they, or rather he, couldn't stop the situation themselves. As the two heroes thanked All Might and worked to cuff the hero and his Pokemon to the police, All Might's ear perked up at the sound of another person in distress. At this All Might quickly jumped, soaring high, with Hulucha flying by his side. "I know I shouldn't be late for school, but I can't turn my back on someone in need." As he started to leave the scene, All Might could hear the voice of the girl he saved shouting out, "Thank you, All Might. You're the greatest." All Might smiled and shouted back, "Thank you, little miss, for your support and gratitude." While All Might sailed through the air to the person in distress, he began to think, "I've clearly gotten slower. Ever since I gave one for all to young Midoriya, my powers have been weakening even faster. With all this heroing and teaching a class, I'm pushing my hero form past its limits. You know, you could take it easy and let the other dozen or so heroes around here handle the situation." All Might's Hulucha mentally spoke to him as he glided through the air. "Then again, you just can't help yourself in saving all those in your reach." "You know very well that I can't," All Might communicated back. "What's worse is that saving young Midoriya and Bakugo from that sludge villain, even past my limit, shortened my time I can be as the symbol of peace." All Might remembered back to yesterday, before classes started, on how young Midoriya told him in greater detail of his conversation with Bakugo. Flashback. You nearly told him what Toshinori questioned in surprise. His successor, Izuku Midoriya, stood in front of him, his head lowered in shame and guilt. "I'm sorry," he said. "I did want to tell him at first. He seemed so upset that I lied to him that I felt the urge to explain to him, to maybe make things fair between us. Arceus, I didn't tell my mom or Serena and the rest about this." All Might tried not to flinch at the secret the two shared from Inko, as well as the secret she and him kept from Izuku. "I don't know why I keep trying to defend or try to make things right between us, even after everything," Izuku continued. "But I guess I just felt guilty is all, for the anger and damage I caused him, and for trying to distance myself from him." All Might hummed in thought. Midoriya isn't the type to show off, that isn't why he wanted to tell young Bakugo. And he didn't tell him about One for All at all, with the exception of a slip-up. Plus, it seems that Bakugo's treatment of Midoriya for years has likewise caused young Midoriya to develop a form of Stockholm Syndrome, where he subconsciously wants to make peace with Bakugo, yet at the same time feels resentment over his treatment. "I won't lecture him too much, but has to know the risks of our secret." "Calm down, young Midoriya," All Might replied. "He didn't seem to take you seriously, and you didn't reveal anything crucial about One for All, so I will let this slide. Just be careful that this doesn't happen again. You need to realize the responsibility that comes with this power." Izuku raised his head to meet his gaze with surprise. "If word got out that One for All could be passed down, villains across the globe would hunt you down to take it. To keep this secret is to ensure not just your own well-being, the lives of your friends, family, and the whole world. Understand?" Izuku was momentarily wide-eyed, obvious fear for his friends and mother, setting in at the realization of this dire secret. Izuku grew a determined face and nodded. "Understood," he replied. Flashback over. "That just means you have to work harder on training that kid to control the quirk of yours," Hulucha said, snapping All Might out of his flashback. "I suppose you are right, old friend." All Might spoke back, driving his fist into the runaway car the criminal was driving. "Even if he is a more suitable host, and has already improved so much to use and control it safely, he's still a 15-year-old boy. While he has improved so much with the aid of Gran Torino, so much so that he has improved what could have been months of my tutelage, I'm still a rookie at this whole teacher-mentor thing. He still has much to learn." "There's a hostage situation across town," a nearby civilian yelled out. All Might groaned and leapt back through the air. "Alright, just this one left and I'll head to the school." "Sure you will," Hulucha said sarcastically. Same day, 12:50 p.m. Today's training will be different than usual. Aizawa revealed to Class 1A. "For today, you will be taught by 3 instructors, including myself, All Might, and another faculty member." The class was slightly surprised at the revelation. 3 teachers, Izuku thought. Is this about the break-in yesterday? Maybe. Pikachu replied. Thought that was obvious from that Cementus guy supervising your class with that Taishi guy, boss. Oh yeah. Izuku thought. I just thought that it was because Cementus was there to fix up the field, but I'm sure UA has many more battlefields if necessary. Hey, sir, what kind of training is this? Zero asked. Rescue training. Aizawa revealed as he showed up a card with a bright blue rescue on it. For today, you will be dealing with natural disasters, shipwrecks, and the like. Disasters, huh? Kaminari said. Looks like we are in for a workout. Totally. Mina said excited. This is real hero stuff. Kirishima yelled excited. Ugh, this is getting me so pumped up. I can finally show how good I am in the water. Asui spoke. Ribbit. Don't forget me, Tsu. Serena jumped in. My whole thing is water. Better get ready for some serious competition. Izuku smiled at seeing Serena more cheerful since yesterday. I'm not finished yet. Aizawa's voice spooked them into silence. What you wear in this exercise is optional, whether it be your hero suits or your gym clothes. He pressed a button, and the lockers for their hero suits slid out formed the wall. I know you're all excited about your costumes, but keep in mind that you haven't gotten used to them yet, so they might limit your abilities. As for where this training will be held, it will be at an off-campus facility, so we'll be taking a bus to get there. Aizawa continued. We originally scheduled for Vlad King in Class 1B to join us in this training session, but we had to reschedule since yesterday's events. Does he mean the break-in? Serena asked. Most likely. Momo answered. After such a breach in security, it would be illogical to have 2 classes, and over 40 students, leave campus to an off-site location with less security. Midoriya, Yoi Rozo, Ida. Aizawa turned to the 3. I'll expect you 3 as the class leaders to keep everyone under control. Yes, sir. Said 3 nodded. Alright, that's all for now. Aizawa said as he walked to the door. Start getting ready. As the students got out of their chairs to get their suits, Izuku looked to Pikachu and said, Rescue training. This is something that I've been waiting for. Memories of All Might's debut video flashed in his mind. It'll take me one step closer to being the hero he is. You'll knock them dead, boss. Pikachu pumped his paw into the air. Saving people is already your thing. I think that knock them dead is rather unfitting for a rescue situation. Kombuskin spoke up mentally. How about break a leg? Eevee proposed. That sounds just as out of place. Kombuskin said. A few minutes later and all the hero students were standing outside waiting for the bus. Izuku fastened the gloves and respirator mask, standing in his fixed-up hero suit. Hey Deku. Uraraka said as she walked up to Izuku. You're wearing your hero suit. I thought it was practically destroyed. Oh, well the support course fixed it up yesterday. Izuku answered. Said that someone named Hitsumi practically spent all night fixing it up or something. All night? Uraraka questioned. Man, I guess whoever they are must be really dedicated. I heard they also fixed up my helmet after it was broken. Class rep. Momo interjected their conversation. The buses are nearly here. I think it's best we get everybody to gather round. Oh you're right. Izuku nodded. Uraraka pouted and glared jealousy at Momo, who had a tiny smirk on her face. Momo was also aware of the similar glares coming from Serena, Higakure, and Mina, and even a curious glance from Asui and Kyoka. Serena glared jealousy at Momo, but shook it off as she walked over to Bakugo. The spiky blonde scoffed as she walked to him. What did you want, sea bitch? He growled. I just wanted to talk. Serena said, eyes twitching at the name. About yesterday. Ha. You here to rub in your win against me? Bakugo growled, growing increasingly more angrier. No. Serena answered, her tone of voice becoming more strained. I just wanted to say that I'm sorry for what I did to Yukolava. It was too far and I could have hurt him badly, so I just wanted to. Too much? Bakugo growled. You think the Kolava and I are weak? Well, given that he was barely standing after he fought Piplup, Serena tried to speak before Bakugo interrupted her again. You don't know anything of how strong Kolava is. Bakugo roared in anger. He took down that pesky bird of yours, and he would have done the same to all your Pokemon. You took that cheap shot because you were scared of Kolava doing the same to that bitchy Pokemon of yours, so fuck off. He's completely delusional. Serena gaped in shock before shaking her head. Fine, have it your way. I just wanted to say sorry because I felt guilty, but go ahead and yell your crazy ass theories. Makes me less guilty of owning your ass, and only more sorry that your Pokemon have to deal with such a delusional trainer. I'm not crazy. Bakugo roared in fury as Serena walked away. Get back here and say that to my face, you bitch. The whistle cut through the air, as the class turned to see Ida blowing the whistle, Izuku and Momo standing by his side. Listen up, Class 1A. Form 2 orderly lines using your student ID numbers so we can load the bus efficiently. Ida is making the most of his new role, huh? Ojiro said, a comical sweat dropped down his head. Kind of think that maybe Izzy and Yamomo screwed us more than helped us. Higakure replied. Ida. Izuku said, rubbing his neck as Pikachu stood on his head and looked into the bus. I don't think that will be necessary. Why not? Iida asked. Class 1 sat in the bus as it drove away from UA towards the off-site facility. Iida's question was answered by the layout of the bus being more open. The bus's open layout ruined my boarding plan. Iida groaned disappointed, a cloud of depressed air over his head. I'm sorry for letting you down, class rep, deputy rep. It's fine, Iida. Izuku said, a nervous expression at Iida's depressed state. I appreciate that you planned so much for us. Agreed. Momo added. It was well-meaning and we appreciate your commitment to your role. Of course. Thank you. Iida yelled, his sad state flipped a complete 180 to head held high and proud. That was fast. Uraraka commented, a sweat drop over her. Yeah, Iida, you really need to chill a bit. Mina said, patting the engine quirk user's shoulder. On the open part of the bus, Momo, Izuku, Asui, and Kirishima sat by the right side of the bus, while Iida, Mina, Serena, and Uraraka sat on the left side. The rest of the group either sat up behind them, including Bakugo, Jiro, Higakure, and Kaminari. If we are pointing the obvious, then I want to say something, Asui said. About you actually, Midoriya. About me, Izuku asked. What is it as I mean Sue? Better? Asui said. Asui's hero suit was a bright green bodysuit, with black stripes, lined in yellow going down the sides of her chest, bringing Izuku's attention to her perky C-cup breasts that made him blush, and down all the way to her legs. Most of her long legs were covered in thigh-high, black boots, shaped like a V around her rather large thighs, making the green-haired teen blush even more. 2 yellow lines trailed down the boots to black and green amphibian-like feet. A white ring with green dots around it for a belt wrapped around her slim waist, and a white strap above her breasts that wrapped around her shoulders. Her top side of her arms colored in black, 2 yellow lines once again outlining it, and bright green on the under part of her arms. Her costume was finished with a large tan-colored gloves with large buckles on each wrist guard lined in bright green. Asui looked at Deku with her large eyes and asked, that power of yours, it's a lot like All Might's, isn't it? Izuku froze, shock and fear written all over his face. Bakugo and Todoroki perked up at the comment, with Mina, Uraraka, Higakure, and Momo staring at Asui in confusion, while Serena's eyes blinked confused before cupping her chin in thought. Pikachu next to him was likewise shocked, his tail sticking up in alarm. Oh shit. Pikachu exclaimed. The gig is up. What do you mean by that? Izuku asked, his voice practically an octane higher. Sure, while it seems your quirk boosts you physical strength and speed, that powerful attack you pulled during the battle training, it was a lot like All Might's powerful punches. Asui explained. Plus you are both power-based types with great speed. Izuku stuttered and looked through his mind for a response, a way to deny and lie his way out of it. He would be answered luckily by Kirishima. Hold on, Sue. Kirishima said. You're forgetting that All Might's attacks don't hurt himself, especially his powerful punches. Kirishima's hero suit was, on a skin-showing level, probably just as, if not slightly less revealing than Momo's. He was entirely shirtless, save for a thin black line across his chest, showing off his muscles, chest and abs. His legs were covered in black baggy pants, black and red lines belt around his waist with a large red R in the middle. Dark red boots covered his feet and a half-red cape hanging off his belt. His arms were bare, with only 2 large red shoulder pads that looked like gears. Yeah, plus All Might doesn't spark green lightning off of him when he uses his quirk. Kaminari jumped in. Which again, looks super cool. Maybe you guys are right. Asui hummed in thought. Izuku sighed in relief. Thanks Kirishima, Kaminari. I owe you 2-1. Still, that quirk of yours is still really cool, Midoriya. Kirishima continued. It seems like a simple, augmenting type that looks and can be pretty flashy. My hardening quirk is super strong and can destroy bad guys in a fight, but it doesn't look all that impressive. He raised his left arm out, that suddenly turned jagged, like his skin hardened to appear like a rock. Oh no way, I think your quirk is awesome. Izuku said, his eyes alight in amazement at a new quirk. Even if you don't think it's flashy, it's what you do with it that matters. You could block a bad guy's attack super easily, and then strike back hard. It's the perfect quirk for both offense and defense. Kirishima was stunned by Izuku's praise before smiling. Thanks Midabro. That speech got me so riled up. So manly. My naval laser is the perfect combination of flare of and strength. Aoyama posed. But it's a little lame if it gives you a stomachache, sweetie. Mina spoke, addressing Cloud appearing over Aoyama's head. Wait, but Deku, you said that the strength that you normally use was around 5 to 6%. Uraraka pointed out, making Izuku freeze. And that when you create those large punches, it's you using 100%. Indeed. Momo jumped in. And you said that you couldn't use your quirk when you were younger because it could break your body, but now you can as your body is getting used to it. So perhaps your quirk strength could match All Might's one day. Izuku would normally blush at the praise from Momo, but right now he was practically shaking in fear. Meanwhile, as Izuku stuttering in response, Bakugo scoffed at the praise that Deku was getting from these worthless extras. Todoroki's eyes narrowed at Izuku, deep in thought. Serena too was in deep thought. When I first met Izuku, he claimed that he was quirkless. Serena mentally recollected. But when the entrance exam came along, his quirks suddenly manifested. I know some quirks can appear later than others, but Izuku's to manifest till he was 15 is still rather odd. Her eyes then widened in realization. He did also that he had a mentor of sorts that helped train him before UA, and is likely the one that showed him that counter shield move. What did he yell to Pikachu back then? He said Halecha, but he also said someone else's name. Toshinori was it? Well, no matter what, if there's any of us here that has pro quirks, it's definitely Midoriya, Yoi Rozo, Bakugo, and Todoroki. Kirishima said. Sure, but Bakugo's attitude is such a huge negative that he probably won't be that popular. Asui pointed out. What did you say, froglegs? Bakugo roared, steam practically fuming from his ears. Say that again. I'll kick your ass. See? Asui pointed, not at all phased. Yeah, dude, I mean basically just met each other a few days ago, so it's very telling that we all already know that your personality is like flaming crap mixed with the garb order. Kaminari joked. The class chuckled and laughed, except for a fuming Bakugo who had to be held back by some of the guys from murdering the teen. Serena watched the whole thing with a smug smile. Yep. Definitely feeling less and less guilty. Izuku watched the whole thing unfold with a shocked expression. Wow. Izuku thought. Usually I'm the one getting picked on and teased, while Bakugo gets all the glory. Yeah, now it's the reverse. Pikachu chuckled. Oh sweet sweet karma, you are a delicious thing to behold. Izuku rolled his eyes at Pikachu's hatred for Bakugo. He looked at the class joking and talking with each other, and smiled. Yeah, I'm sure of it. Izuku said. I was meant to come here. I earned it. I'm truly grateful, All Might, for believing in me. Hey. We're here. Aizawa announced, as the bus slowed down to a halt in front of a large white dome, with large blue doors and yellow gate. The students got off the bus to be greeted by a new face. Hello everyone, I've been waiting for you. A feminine voice spoke from the new person. She wore a large white, fluffy suit that looked similar to an astronaut, complete with yellow shoes, white gloves with caps on the fingertips, a gray pack on her back, and a large helmet with a black dome and white eyes. Whoa? Izuku said in amazement. It's the Space Hero, 13. She's a rescue hero that saved tons of people in Pokemon from across the world. Woohoo! Uraraka cheered. I'm such a huge fan. I'm so honored to meet you in person. Aw, always happy to meet a fan. 13 replied, rubbing her neck. But anyways, come on in kids. I'm really excited to show you around. The students followed the space-themed hero with all but Todoroki and Bakugo, collectively thinking the same thing. This is going to be awesome. As they entered, the students were overwhelmed at the area inside. The whole area was incredibly large, with stairs leading to a large middle parkway that lead to several locations across the area. Izuku looked to the right and saw two domes, one at the farthest back that was red, and, if he squinted, looked to be in flames, and the other, the one closest to them, was darkish blue and looked rainy. And between the two domes was a large lake with a ship in the middle, and a what looked like a large water slide with a waterfall. To his left, closest to them, was a bunch of crumbled and destroyed buildings and wreckage, a few dark rocky plains and mountains by the back, and another larger mountain, with various buildings and objects sticking out from inside, that was more lighter in the middle. Amazing. Kirishima exclaimed. It looks like some sort of amusement park. A shipwreck, a landslide, a fire, a windstorm, etc. 13 listed as she spread her arms over the area. I created this training facility to prepare you to deal with different types of disasters. I call it the Unforeseen Simulation Joint, or as you can call it, the USJ. The students blinked their eyes. Just like Universal Studios Japan, they all thought. Aizawa walked to the posing 13 and asked, hey, isn't All Might supposed to be here? What, did he book an interview instead? Actually, it's something else. 13 said, raising 3 fingers on her hand. He did too much hair work on his way to the school, and used up all his power. He's resting in the teacher's lounge. 13 recalled the phone call she got from All Might, who was currently sitting in a couch with Halecha shaking his head with his paw on his face. I'm sorry. I should be able to catch the tail end of the exercise. I'll be there as soon as I can. Aizawa sighed exasperated. That man is the height of irresponsibility. Aizawa sighed out. Well, we should be okay with just 2 teachers instead. Izuku noticed the 3 fingers and immediately picked up what 13 whispered to Aizawa. They're talking about All Might. Izuku mentally spoke. He used up his time limit before school. Now he can't be here because he ran out of time. Seriously? Pikachu questioned before groaning. Oh Arceus, that idiot. Next time I see him, I'm going to shock him till he is nice and crispy. Please don't. Izuku replied. Alright, we should get started quickly. Aizawa said. Excellent. 13 said. But before we begin, there is just one thing I'd like to say. Or maybe 2. Maybe 3. 4. We get it. The class groaned. Alright, sorry. 13 said before she lifted a hand. Listen carefully. I'm sure you kids already know my quirk is rather powerful. It's called Black Hole. My quirk allows me to suck up anything and turn it into dust. Yeah, and you use it to save tons of people from disasters by sucking up the debris they were trapped in, right? Izuku pointed out, Uraraka meanwhile nodding her head up and down in excitement. That's true, however, my quirk can also be easily used to kill. 13 stated, the student slightly gasping in surprise at the dark turn. For example, what would happen if I use my quirk on person rather than debris? The student sculpted the mental image of a person disintegrating into dust and pieces. I'm sure that many of you also have quirks that can be extremely dangerous. 13 continued. In our superhuman society, all quirks are identified and strictly regulated. While this is meant to keep disaster situations from occurring chaotically, it also blinds many others to just how dangerous they can be if used unwisely. Never forget that if you lose focus or make even one wrong move, your quirk can be deadly, even if you are trying to do something virtuous, like saving someone. It's true. Izuku thought. If All Might were to punch a building while fighting a villain, he could easily destroy it and make it crumble, likely hurting or even killing anyone inside. Izuku lifted his hand. In my fight with Bakugo, I didn't just use one for all at 100% because it would have broken my arms, but because I could have easily killed him with that much power. Or how he almost killed you with that massive explosion with those gauntlets. Pikachu pointed out, Izuku flinching at the memory. Likewise, it is the same for your Pokemon. 13 pointed out. Despite centuries of Pokemon battles, we often overlook that their powers can be easily as deadly to both the person and even other Pokemon. Or how many lives, both human and Pokemon, were lost in the many wars of ancient times. Serena flinched, remembering Kolava's defeated state after Melodic's attack on her orders. Bakugo likewise scoffed at the memory. Thanks to Aizawa's fitness tests, you have a solid idea of your quirk's potential and limits. 13 continued. With All Might's combat training, you likely experience how dangerous both your quirks and your Pokemon can be against other people, and finally, with Taishi's Pokemon battles against each other, you also realize just how powerful your Pokemon can be. So now carry those lessons that you learned to this class. For today you are going to learn how to use your quirks to save people's lives. You won't be using your powers to attack enemies or each other, only to help. After all, that is what being a hero is all about. Ensuring the safety of others. Izuku smiled brightly, taking 13's words to heart, while in contrast, Bakugo scoffed and internally groaned at this sappy shit. 13 bowed to the group. That's all I have to say. Thanks for listening, she said. The class clapped and cheered in response to 13's speech. I can see why you are such a fan of her, Uraraka, Serena said. I think she just made me one too. She's so awesome. Uraraka cheered loudly. This is it, Izuku said. The true job of a hero. I won't let him down. Alright, Aizawa said. Now that that's over. Suddenly, the lights above them sparked in electricity and turned off, causing the area to slightly darken. The students frowned in confusion. Aizawa and 13 too looked momentarily confused. Izuku felt a sudden jolt of lightning spark in his mind suddenly going haywire, dark voices and violent emotions he felt out of nowhere. He doubled back and held his head in pain, groaning. Boss. Pikachu yelled. Deku. What's wrong? Uraraka asked in a panic. Izu. Serena yelled as she hurried to his side, Momo, Mina, and Higakure not far behind. Midoriya. Ida yelled as he grabbed hold of Izuku's side and steadied him. What happened? Something's wrong, Izuku groaned in pain. For some reason, I feel cold, like something's coming. Aizawa frowned in confusion before hearing a hissing, swirling sound, his eyes widening in horror. He turned around to see, right in the center of the USJ, a dark swirling portal manifest and grow. It lashed out and grew till it formed yellow, thin eyes, Aizawa whirling to the event. A hand popped out of the portal, clawing and wiping away the dark fog to reveal shaggy whitish blue hair and a white hand over the person's face, a red eye full hatred peeking out. Aizawa's eyes narrowed and turned to the class, stay together and don't move. He yelled to the class, who looked at him in surprise. 13. Protect the students. Izuku opened an eye to see where Aizawa was looking and found the swirling portal, his eyes meeting with the red-eyed individual. Izuku's eyes widened in sheer horror, a cold wave of hatred and madness sprouting from that eye. No way, he thought. I saw him before. His mind flashed back to yesterday, remembering the avoiding the press, and remembering just before the gates were closed, the same red-eyed shaggy-haired man walking towards him. Could he be the one that breached the gates? Hiroshima noticed the swirling dark portal and asked, hey, what's that? The rest of the students looked over to the portal where now the shaggy-haired man stepped out of the portal, his arms and head covered in hands. He was soon followed by multiple sinister and menacing-looking people and Pokemon. Floating by the man covered in hands was a large black dragon-like Pokemon, its hands replaced by mouths, a popped collar around his head, and 6 thin feathery black wings on his back. Wait, has the training started? Hiroshima asked. I thought we were rescuing people. Stay back. Aizawa yelled, startling the teens. Izuku got up on his feet, shaking off the pain, and looked to Aizawa, eyes widening at the serious look on his teacher's face. Aizawa placed his goggles over his eyes. "This is real," he said. "Those are real villains." The students gaped and gasped in horror and shock. Izuku looked to the portal and noticed a large, hulking monstrosity walk out of the portal. Its skin was dark purplish black, red scars around its body, and its head appeared like that of a bird-like Pokemon, large razor-sharp fangs for teeth, and its head open to reveal a pulsating pink brain with eyes plastered on top. The very appearance of the creature made him want to throw up. "Villains," Izuku whispered horrified. Now, the hand-wearing man spoke. "This is where the fun begins. Thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed. If you want the next part of this video, like, subscribe and comment down below, and turn on the bell notification. And also check out other videos that I have created and enjoy. See you in the next video. Peace.